Hey guys, it's me, Nixie. I haven't done a YouTube in a while. I've been busy with a lot of things, you know what I mean, trying to work my occult based business, Daemonica Divinorium, as well as starting a new project called the Infernal Order of Draconis Philosophus. And so I'm actually here to kind of like talk to you guys about a few things, you know what I mean? Because a friend, you know what I mean, like asked me to make a 20-minute video on something relative to the occult or the left hand path or anything like that for their project as well. So I thought, hey, you know what, I'll I mean, I'm gonna do this, and why not make it a YouTube thing as well, and kind of like bring attention to my YouTube channel at the same process. All right, so basically starting off with the altar. Starting off with the altar, because I'm actually going to discuss the difference between, let me get this light here. Going to discuss the difference between an altar and a shrine. Because I find in the magical community and in the occult community as well, people often mix the two up. So, going on with this. So, if you look behind me, this is my altar right there. An altar has tools and the working space for your magic crafts and whatnot, and I'll go through the list of things that are in my altar that should be, but I'll start off with the basic things that everyone should kind of have an idea of in their altar space as well. And then this is my major shrine right here as well. I'll go into the shrine in a little bit also too, after I go into the altar first. So going in to the altar, you have your four basic things to represent the four elements first. And let's start with the element of earth. You can use, coins, because pentacles, especially in the tarot suit, you know what I mean, are representative of the element of earth, as well as crystals. For my altar space, I have a dragon's bloodstone crystal right here that I use to be the earth element. Then coming into the air element, we have the athame. I'm not gonna like fully like show the blade aspect of it though, because I'm not trying to like show a weapon or something threatening like that, even if it is a magical tool. Then for the water element, we have the chalice. And I have a dragon chalice right there too, because my chalice is dedicated to the daemon Leviathan, like my athame is dedicated to Lucifer, and my bloodstone is dedicated to Belial. And then last but not least, representing the element of fire, we have the wand. This is actually like one of my favorite wands that I own actually. It's got on Etsy. It's also a dragon one as well, because draconian magic and workings are a major part of my practice. And then of course I have my obsidian obelisk for scrying. Now on the top, right there on the top, on the well, not the top of the middle bar, because I don't have anything on the top shelf at least yet. I have like other tools as well, like you look over here. Let me get into the camera correctly, and you can see that I have my singing bowl. Now, this is actually an awesome tool, you guys, because basically, put the singing bowl up here. And then I have the mortar and pestle right over here, guys. And, I use that when, especially like in a lot of my workings where I'm grinding up fresh herbs, I'm grinding up resins for incense or whatnot. And then one thing that every practitioner should always have too on their altar is a cauldron. Cauldrons are necessary, especially when you can use them to burn things in, or you can also use them to store things or whatnot for your workings as well, or you can even use them as they did in ancient times to boil things if you want to put it over a fire, you know what I mean, and boil. I use it more so though as a, burn safe container to burn workings into. Then we have this right over here. It's actually an abalone shell, but I'm using it as a bowl for my crystals and whatnot, as you can see right there. And then let me see. And I also have an offering bowl. And one more thing that I have, give me 1 second, let me grab it real fast. Aside from the obsidian tower for scrying, I also have the box made out of soapstone for my tarot cards. Because divination tools also belong on the altar space as well, since divination tools are tools to be used. So now let's talk about how to use certain tools. I'm not going to go into full details on how to use certain tools because, literally I'm only doing half the video on altar and altar tools, and then the other half is going to be on what I have on my shrine and the importance of the differentiating between the two aspects. So for example, like with the altar tools, like working with the athame being an element of air, also the, symbol with it being air, the element of air being also a symbol of mental mastery. And basically, quintessentially, I like to use my athame to cut cords, to clear out energies, to basically, also for, other rituals as well that I really don't need to go into because rituals are, sacred as well and personal and whatnot. I use the chalice when I'm, using water as well for cleansings, offerings, etc. With the wand, I use the wand to direct and pull and push energies, forward and toward me and to manifest and whatnot. And with the crystal and the earth element is a great grounding element. Guys, always have an earth element with you, especially when you're working with the higher magics. You want that earth element to keep things grounded and focused for you. And the altar, like I said, I use it to, you can use it for multiple purposes. I use it to burn what I need to burn in my workings and whatnot because it is cast iron. It will not cause a fire, will not melt, etc., etc., etc. And then now, let us go to entering the shrine space. Now, I'm only going to show you guys one of my shrines. So, give me 1 second. My shrine right over here. I have my, devotion to Lilith. First and foremost, she is my dark mother. She is my mother that birthed me into the left-hand path and the path of darkness. And, of course, I have, let me see, where's that right there? I have Lucifer right there. Lucifer being the bringer of light, the bringer of knowledge, the bringer of wisdom. Also representative of the element of air as well. And then, of course, I have on my shrine right there too, I have Baphomet. Baphomet is quite interesting because where a lot of people have the conceived notion that Baphomet was something, made up by Eliphas Levi in Transcendental Magic and its rituals and doctrines. It turns out that Baphomet actually has a deeper history. Baphomet was actually considered was what the Knights of Templar were accused of worshiping when they got executed. And also during the First Crusade, the Turkish were screaming Baphomet's name as the Christians were slaughtering them. And yes, that's also a Baphomet, curtain that I have over my curtain. I was also hitting my vape as well too, because I don't know if YouTube allows that or not, so I'd rather not. And in my shrine, I also have a bell, and that's kind of like what I use when I'm wanting to get spiritual attention. And there's certain things that you want to have on a shrine. Like, you definitely want to have an offering bowl. I have a skull one. It has a lid. I'm not showing what my offerings are because that's kind of personal and sacred to me. And I also have an Orgonite pyramid as well. And I have some crystals on my altar as well, but the crystals on my altar, on my shrine, the crystals on my shrine aren't like the crystals on my altar, because the crystals on my altar basically are used for their energetic properties and whatnot. The crystals on my shrine right here actually house entities. They're, casings for entities that may have caused issues for people, entities that were up to no good and mischievous. You know what I mean? Someone who is skilled in the art of conjuring will put them in a vessel as a crystal or whatnot to utilize them for their own purposes. And basically now we will dive into explaining the importance of knowing the difference. When people say, oh, I'm setting up an altar for, I don't know, let's just say random entity, throw an entity out there. I'm throwing up an altar for Thor. That's not an altar. That's a shrine. I'm throwing up an altar for Zapar. Again, still, that's a shrine. It doesn't matter what type of entity it is. It's not an altar. It's a shrine. If it's dedicated to a spirit, an entity, a god, or a goddess, it's a shrine, because a shrine is made for devoting to that particular entity, as to where an altar is literally a workshop for your tools and whatnot to be used. And guys, that is my brief YouTube explanation of the differentiating between an altar and a shrine. Blessings and tidings. Hail the Infernal. Hail Lucifer. Hail Satan. Hail Baal.